Beginners, experts, .NET developers, students.
We're inviting you to hack together with Microsoft Graph and .NET this March.
Whether you're an expert or just getting started, join us March 1st through March 15th to learn, hack, and win with Microsoft Graph and .NET.
We'll have live sessions to show you what Microsoft Graph is and help you kickstart your project.
You can bring your team or hack by yourself.
You can learn about Microsoft Graph along the way, and trust us, we'll help you.
You can submit your project to win a digital badge and other exciting prizes.
To learn more, visit aka.ms/hack-together.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I will be there.
I'll be there.
Let's hack together this March with Microsoft Graph and .NET. See you there.
My name is Carol, and today I'm joined by two people who will be telling us more about Programming 101. Good afternoon, Assis. How are you?
I'm good, and you, Carol? How are you doing?
I'm good. How is your day going?
My day is going fine. I can't complain. And yours?
It's okay. And how's the weather?
It's okay. It's pretty stable, I can say.
Okay. And we also have a special guest joining us today. Her name is Ntsikelelo. She's from Varsity College and one of the new Microsoft ambassadors.
Hello.
Hi, Ntsikelelo. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. Can you please just give 30 seconds intro about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Ntsikelelo Khumalo. I study at Varsity College, and I'm studying Bachelor of Computer and Information Sciences in Application Development.
Pleased to meet you. Welcome to the team.
Nice to meet you too.
So yeah, you muted, Carol.
And then today, Nassis will be telling us more about Programming 101. The floor is yours, Nassis.
Thank you about it, Carol. It's not only me, it's Ntsikelelo and I will be talking about Programming 101. So today's session will be more of a discussion, and we'll be figuring out what is Programming 101, what makes programming, what it's all about, how can I get started, what are the tools that I need to get started, the experience that I'm gonna go if I decide to go ahead with this. So that's why I say it's more of a discussion than actually a session. And Sekelelo and I will be sharing our experiences to help you and to guide you in order for you to get started with programming. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing. But more of that is more of a discussion. So to kick us off our session, Carol, would you mind by telling us what is programming to you? When you hear the word programming, what comes to mind?
Programming, the moment I hear the word programming, I feel like it's starting off a new game, if I may say, like a website,
Thank you for sharing that. And Yun Sekelelo, what came about your mind when you heard programming for the first time?
When I heard about programming the first time, I thought it was about coding and creating something from scratch.
Yeah, so my thought is also similar to your one, Sekelelo. Well, when I heard programming for the first time, I thought it was just like in the movies when we see the bad guys or the IT people just chopping things on their computer, and that's what I thought about what programming is all about. While in simplicity, programming is a matter of making applications using a programming language. Basically, that's in simplicity what programming is all about. Making programs in a specified or preferred programming language. And there are different types of programming languages out there. Sekelelo, can you tell us a few programming languages that you know about?
Okay, so there's Java, there's C#, there's Python, and there's a couple others that I can't think of right now, but yeah.
Yeah. So to add on to that list, Python, C#, C++, Java, TypeScript, Angular. There's so many languages out there for you to just make applications. And that's what we'll be going through. Carol, I'm sure you might be confused. What is programming? Programming languages, what it's about. By you hearing it for the first time, what do you think it's about?
Honestly speaking, I don't know. I don't want to lie.
Well, it's fine. I understand. So it's normal to have this type of confusion and like misunderstanding. So just to clarify, programming. So you see the same way in a language, we as a human beings right now as we're talking English, right? So the same way we have English for us to communicate and understand each other is the same way computers and devices have a language that they understand each other by. So the first language is binary, zeros and one, zeros and one, zero and one. So computers, devices alike, they communicate in that language, the binary number system or the binary language, if I can put it that way. They understand, they communicate using zeros and one. Zero means it's off, one it means it's on. So that's the first language that devices use to communicate with each other, but we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on programming language whereby the languages are used, this type of languages which I've just mentioned, C#, JavaScript, etc., they are used to make applications. So the applications that we saw on Tuesday for AI Tuesday were made that speech recognition application that was in C#. I made that application in C#. I can make the same application using Delphi, using C++, in different types of languages, basically. So the same way we have many languages for us to speak and communicate with other people, there's also so many languages for us to make the same application, but in different languages. Anything to add on, Sekelelo, before I continue? From your understanding, or how would you explain to someone?
I'd actually explain it the same way as a programming language is basically a language the computer speaks. But depending on what you're making, each language will be different. So, for example, you can't go to London and expect someone to be able to speak Zulu, right? Because they speak predominantly English. So it's the same for coding. If you want to create a website, an app, or a desktop app or some application, it has its own specific language that has its own specific features. Just like how the Zulu culture has its own features and creativity, and the Korean culture has its own thing, and the Turkish culture has its own thing. It's the same for programming languages. Each one does its own thing. C sharp, I know that it creates mobile apps, web apps. It also creates desktop apps. HTML can also help you create websites, like easy build websites and stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow. So you said quite a lot. We're gonna we're gonna elaborate on more of what you've just said right now. So, Carol, from what you've just heard, do you have any question, any remarks on what is programming and and the different types of programming language that there is?
No, for now I'm just listening and absorbing the information.
Okay, no problem. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Even in the chat, let us know. We'll be sure to answer it. As I said, it's more of a discussion. Moving on to what Nsekelelo just added. So with different types of programming languages, there are different things that you can do with it, as Nsekelelo mentioned earlier on, right? So when you want to make an app, the first thing is you have to consider your platform. Where do you want the application to be used? How do you want it to be used? And who's going to be using it? So those are the first few things that you must think about, right? So Nsekelelo mentioned desktop application, there's console application, web application, mobile application, and web application. So there's like 5 types of applications that you can get. Console application, right? You see when you on your phone and you type *140 to send a police call, or back in the 2 years ago, I'm saying back in the day when we had COVID, we had to do a self-check. We used to dial star something, something, something. That is an example of a console application whereby there's no graphical interface, there's no graphical representation of what you are doing, but you are seeing it in text. So that's an example of a console application. And then a desktop application is an application that we use on our laptops and our devices. So PowerPoint, Word, all those are examples of desktop applications that you can use on the computer, right? And then you got mobile application. Mobile applications are types of applications that you can find on the mobile device or on tablets or on iPad, depending on which device that you use. And web application on the website, Takealot, Amazon, those services or companies use web application in order for them to sell things to you, basically. So the fact that you're able to log on to Takealot and track your order and everything, that's an example of a web application, basically. So now there's different types, there's different platforms for where you can create an application. And an important thing is for you to consider what you want to do and where do you want to go, your target market or your target that you're trying to reach, basically. Anything to add on, Nsekelelo?
No.
Yeah. So moving on to today's session, more about today's session. Today's session will be focusing on C#. So out of the many languages that are out there, we're going to be focusing primarily on C#, and we're going to show you how to get started with C#, how to set it up, the tools that you can use to get started with C#, and where exactly can you learn the C# programming language. So, Nsekelelo, do you mind sharing us your experience of when you started coding for the first time? What was going through your head? How was it like? So that we can tell to people, or I won't say lie to people that it's all rosy, it's a walk in the park, but no, we have to be real and honest with people. So can you tell us about your experience?
I can tell you right now, it's not a walk in the park. Like, it depends on who you are, actually. There are some people who tried for the first time and then they'll be like, oh, this is so easy. Then you get people like me who need to constantly practice and learn. Because when you're writing a test, like I started coding formally last year because I wanted to do IT. So when I walked into the class, what happened in the class and what happens on the test are two completely different things. So in the class, your teacher breaks down the basics and all of that. And then in the test, you get war. So you get people like me who's like, okay, did we learn this? And then you get some of my friends who are like, ow, it's so easy. And I'll be like, what is easy about this? And so I can assure you now, depending on who you are, it's a walk in the park for some. Others, it's like you just invited them to World War III basics. And then, so for me to learn coding, I watched I don't know how many YouTube videos, and I kept practicing with their examples, and I kept practicing with other examples I'll find online and stuff. And then this year I got Microsoft, and then I started practicing on the Microsoft Learn website for C Sharp. And then it goes step by step. Sometimes you need to go onto YouTube and you literally are like, okay, Microsoft said this, I'm like getting it. And then you type the same thing onto YouTube, and then YouTube shows you like 100,000 different videos. Some easy to understand, others make you seem dumb and like slow that you can't understand. So yeah, that would be the experience with programming. Everyone has their own experience. It's basically everyone has their own experience learning a language. So for some, English was easy. Like you walked into the class, teacher said hello, and you picked up immediately. Oh, okay, hello, and you picked up the conversation. For others, it's very hard. Like you'll be trying to understand what is this teacher saying to me. Like I'm so lost, I'm so confused, and all that stuff. So yeah.
Wow. So that's quite an experience, I have to say. So there's a lot of pointers that Nsekelelo just mentioned there. She talked about practicing. She talked about researching on Google, YouTube videos, Microsoft websites. She mentioned about those sources as well. And then she also mentioned, besides researching and the resources that she can find, she also mentioned that she had to be patient as well. It didn't like, as they say, Rome was not built in a day. It took time, and more and more she got exposed to it, the better she became, as she was trying to say. So that's the first experience, and experiences differ from people. So from my experience, as I'm sharing on the table as well, for people, when I started programming, I have to say that I was really quick to catch on. I was really quick to catch on because I had like an understanding of how computers worked, what made it work, and everything like that. So I had a really good understanding. Not that I'm trying to like show I know everything, no, not like that. But some people are, as Nsekelelo says, some people are gifted. For them, it's easy, and some people it feels like World War III, in which the case as explained. So that's just my experience of when we get started with coding. So the few tips that we're trying to share with this like point about experiences is that first thing is know your goal. Where are you going? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve when you start in programming? Second step is choose your preferred programming language. So it can be C Sharp, JavaScript, whatever. And what you're trying to do, are you trying to do a platform, a web application, console application, desktop application? There's all of that. So you choose all of that. And then after that, take the resources that you need, consult or contact who you need to contact so that you can achieve your desired goal. So just in a moment, Sekelelo, can you please prepare your screen so that you can tell us more about how to get started with C Sharp on Visual Studio Code. And while she's doing that, you're probably wondering what is Visual Studio Code, what is Visual Studio, all these terminologies. Well, it all comes down to an IDE. So I'll just leave Nsekelelo explain it as she's showing us, giving us a tour about Visual Studio Code. While she's doing that, Carol, do you have any questions you want to ask? Any clarification?
No, I'm just looking forward to hearing more about the is it C#?
Yes, C sharp.
Yes, I'm looking forward to hear more about it.
Cool. Leather, are you winning with your screen?
I'm trying to. Give me a moment.
Okay. So while she's sharing a screen, I think I'll just go ahead by giving a brief introduction about what is an IDE. So an IDE, right? Same way for soccer players or for sports people, they have a training ground, right? They have a training ground whereby they're going to train and try and perform to the best of their ability so they can be ready for the game, they can be ready for their event. It's the same way with programming as well. When we want to make our application, when we want to build something, we need a place to build it in. And that's where an IDE comes in. An IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So that's like it sounds very fancy, but in short, it's IDE. It's an integrated development environment whereby it's a place that has everything, all the resources that you need in order for you to make your application work, for it to make it possible. So that's just like a brief introduction about what is an IDE. But over to you, Nsekelelo.
Okay, so today we're going to be learning how to download Visual Studio Code. Okay, so for me, we are going to be also learning about C#. So C# is a programming language developed by Microsoft that runs on a .NET framework. C# is used to develop web apps, desktop apps, mobile apps, games, and a lot of other things. So can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was downloading Visual Studio Code, I literally just typed in Visual Studio Code and I went to download. So you can download for Windows, for Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, Fedora, SUSE. So it's basically what type of Windows program that you have installed in your laptop. There's also for those who use Apple, because also Apple has its own things. So here's the Mac version. So I'm a Windows user, so I download there. And yeah, so at the bottom, it will start downloading. I apologize if it takes like some time, like 2 minutes left, 3 minutes left, guys.
Sure.
So
have you already have it downloaded?
yeah, I have it downloaded actually.
Yeah. Okay.
So once
So you may go ahead and please show us how to install it while we're waiting for downloading.
Okay, so once it's downloaded, you usually get some prompts on your screen that say, do you want to change something? Do you want this program to change something on your laptop? I just pressed yes. So here is my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to download it onto my laptop. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So here is Visual Studio. I had already started using it, sorry. Okay. Let me just close there. Okay, so here is your opening page for Visual Studio. I had already started some projects, so don't worry about the recent. Not all of us will have recent stuff here. So you go down to Terminal, New Terminal, and at the bottom, you click on .NET New Console. And then afterwards, you click enter. Okay, so let me just like
Create a new folder.
yeah.
Okay. So do it like this.
Uh,
Can I? Okay, for assist. Go back
yes,
to the
please.
same one. Go back to the same one.
Yeah.
So just type CD on the terminal.
Okay. CD.
CD, and then
Yeah.
put and dot 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 space dot dot dot.
Space. Dot dot dot.
Yeah, enter. 2 dots. Sorry.
Oh, okay. CD space dot dot.
Again, do it for the last time.
CD space dot dot.
Yeah, now you're on the desktop. So you can quickly create a new folder on the desktop and then when I enter it. So just minimize, yeah, new folder. Just do it graphically. Minimize and do it graphically.
Oh, minimize here. Okay.
Yeah, and do it graphically. Just name a new folder.
Okay. Okay. New program. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, go back to terminal. And then just say CD.
CD.
Dot dot again. Again.
Dot dot.
And then CD. CD. And then new folder. The folder that you just created.
Program. Okay. I usually just press open folder.
Okay.
Right. And I go to my desktop and here it is, new program, and select the folder.
Yes.
That's how I usually do it. So then you create a new terminal and .NET new console. And so it creates all this on the side. Here it said required assets to build and debug are missing from new program. Add them, just press yes. So it will automatically add your tasks and your launch. This will help you to run your code, whatever code you have created.
Okay.
So to install your C#
yes, let me
program.
continue.
Okay, sorry.
You may continue. I was about to ask a question. You may continue.
Okay. So to install your C# program, there's a place here that looks like 3 boxes and 1 floating box. I don't know how else to explain it. So it's called extensions. You can either click on it or click Control plus Shift and X. So yeah. So then you search for said extensions. So you go C# and enter. Here is C# for Visual Studio. So it's you press this usually like an install, but since I had already installed it, it's already on my screen here. So I can uninstall if I'm not using that language. But since I'm going to be using this language, it's yeah. So we're going to go back to the original program. And yeah, here is C#. So when you open it, it already starts with the commented out portion. This is an HTTP for anyone who wants to learn like the simple basics. When I started using Microsoft Learn and Visual Studio Code, I actually highlighted this and I pressed Control Copy and I went onto my Chrome, or you can use your Firefox, whatever, and I literally just pasted the URL code. And yeah, it like shows you the basic steps of creating like a C#. Like here, when you opened, you saw this, and also here how you technically frame your C# coding so that it can easily run. So I'm gonna copy this one. So it can work also with this one, but I just like the long way so that I can learn more. Sorry, Carol. So we're gonna comment that out. So when you comment it out, you just press the slash, the backslash, and so you paste. So from the namespace, you change that to your program. So it's new program. You can make it one word because sometimes it doesn't like having the same name as the folder. So just put it together. And so you can start debugging to run your code. Do not run without debugging because sometimes mishaps happen and your computer for a while. Ask me, I know I'm not the best expert and I'm also not the most patient human being on the planet. So one time I did run without debugging and it was just red everywhere. So please don't follow my mistakes. So you start here. So it will go here actually. But if you don't want it here, I forgot to mention that part. If you don't want your code to be at the bottom and you want an external terminal, you could actually go to. Do you have any questions? Sorry, I forgot to ask.
No, it's so nice. So you can just keep on going. We'll ask it once you are done presenting.
Okay, so I was just worried because y'all are so quiet, and I thought maybe I'm going a bit too fast for you guys.
No,
Sorry if
it's
I was
just fine.
fast. So you go to the command palette. If my memory serves me right, I am old, people, so I'm not the best programmer in the planet. So please bear with me. So you go to your command palette and oh no, sorry, you go to launch actually. See, I told you people, I'm like the most interesting person you'll ever find when it comes to programming. Actually, let's see what I did here. Okay, here it is. So you go to launch and you see how it says internal console. So this is your internal console. It's here at the bottom. It will go all yellow or green depending on what color pattern it uses. And so you're going to change it to external terminal. So you're going to go external terminal. You can click on OK. And so you're going to close and you're going to save it so that it can remember to read. It's going to go to an external terminal. So run it again. And you see how it opened and closed. It's because it cannot read this code. So at the bottom of your console, at the bottom of console.writeLine, you are going to go to the bottom of it and you're going to write console.readKey. So that will help you and assist you to read whatever code you have on the top. So you go console.readKey. obviously it like gives you. Please don't forget the
Mhm.
language. The one you're supposed to use open and closed brackets and a semicolon. Otherwise, your code will redline and it will frustrate you. Believe me, I know it frustrates me sometimes. And so here you go. It has read your hello world, and here you are.
Wow,
Does
very
anyone
impressive, I
have
have to say.
questions?
Carol, I'm
Does
gonna
anyone
give it to you. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have questions, a lot of questions. My first question is when you started, Narcisse mentioned something about CE, so I wanted to know what is that part and why do we have to start with that part?
Oh, the CD.
About Oh, okay. I'm gonna elaborate on that. Okay, I'm gonna answer that question if you don't mind, Sekelelo.
No problem.
Besides that, do you have any other questions, Carol?
Yes, and another one is why do we have to start with console, or like in always, why do we have to start with console?
Okay, so
Okay.
if you're starting with console, it's how your program will be read. If you don't start with console, let me show you. Let me just backspace there and copy this part. Obviously, it's how the language structure works. So just like how in English you have when you are forming a sentence, you go subject, object, verb. It's the same with programming. It also has its own structure. So if you were to say read key, it would obviously redline, and when you run your code, let me show you, it won't run at all. So you have to use the proper structure. Just like how you do when you form a sentence, structure in programming is very important. It's so that whoever reads your code, maybe a lecturer or a friend, will easily be able to point out where you have gone wrong. And it's easy for you to understand as well when they're teaching you how the program works, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I get it now. And then my other question is that there was a part where you went to a certain app. I don't know if it's an app or if it's the same app. You copied and pasted. Were you creating a link or were you?
Oh, okay. So when you create your program automatically, it comes with the first two lines already there. So the thing that I copied basically was the accurate structure. As I said, if you want to get some tips on how you formulate your console, you copy and paste the HTTP as I did, and it simply gets you to like a formulated explanation by Microsoft. So you learn how to generate your statements accordingly and what each of the purposes of the lines are, so that you never have to worry about, oh, I put something in and it's not working. From experience, I can tell you coding can sometimes be very frustrating, especially when you're sick or when you're tired or when you've had a lot of lectures and you're now trying to catch up with everything. So that is why I just copied and pasted so that I could see my formula. I could have easily gone with this and just left it as is, but sometimes, depending on the version of C sharp that you have, at least in my experience, it does not really work. It redlines and everything goes haywire. Just like how I showed you when you remove the console and you leave the read key, it just says you can't run said code. Should you debug anyway? Don't debug, let me warn you there. So you start with your formation. Like, like how you write a story. You have your introduction, you have your first paragraph, then you have your body, and then you have the ending, which is basically these brackets here. So yeah.
Wow.
Did I
So
lose it?
really explain.
Carol, did I
Sorry,
lose it?
Segler, you are saying?
No, I understood. I understood. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, you've given so many elaborate explanations. Really, I don't know. I feel like I'm starting all over again. Yeah. So I'm just gonna now carry on because of time. I'm now gonna show the other part of our session whereby you can get started with Visual Studio with programming in C Sharp using another IDE. IDE, remember, stands for Integrated Development Environment. The other one is called Visual Studio, right? So that one is Visual Studio Code. This one is now Visual Studio alone. So let me just quickly share my screen. Share my screen. I don't know, it doesn't want to share my screen. 1 minute. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So the first thing, as Nsegelelo did, first thing is she used the internet. The internet is full of so many answers and resources that your mind can even fail to comprehend or understand. So the first thing that we use is the internet. So we search for what we are looking for. If you don't know something, just search it up on the internet, you'll find it. So Nsegelelo searched up Visual Studio Code, and now just search Visual Studio Download. So now there's different versions of Visual. The latest one, which is 2022, which came out last year. There's 2019, 2017, 2013, but we are looking for Visual Studio 2022, right? So that's the first thing. So now, after going to Visual Studio 2022, you click the first link, right? The first link that pops up. Some other researchers shows you just download. As you can see here, it says go to download, and you can just lead you straight to the page, as you can see. So I opened 2 pages of the same thing. So there you go. So there's different types of Visual Studios. There's community, professional, and enterprise, and preview. So preview is for the experts who are testing new features and testing new things before it comes out. So that's preview. Enterprise is for businesses and companies. Professional is for a professional who works at a company or a business. And then community is free. It's for anyone to use, students, teachers, anyone who wants to try it out. So professional, enterprise, and preview, that's when you have to pay. As you can see, it says free trial. But community is for free, and it's available to anyone. So we're gonna click free download. So once you click download, this is gonna pop up. So when you download it, this is gonna pop up. So this is the Visual Studio installer. So as I said at the beginning, you must know what you're looking for. You must know what you're trying to do, right? So now, as Nsegelelo knew what she wanted to do, she went to search for C# in the extension. So it's different on Visual Studio, whereby you get to choose everything that you need before you actually start using Visual Studio. So now I'm going to show you how it looks like. So I'm just going to click modify. So once you load once your Visual Studio installer pops up, it's going to look like something like this, right? Let it load. So you get to choose what you're looking for, what you're trying to do, basically. So now here are all the different things that you can do in Visual Studio. There's a lot. You can make games, you can make mobile application, you can make web application, you can make desktop application, and you can make console application. On top of it, you can connect to GitHub. On top of it, you can also connect to Azure within one place. So it's like a whole studio giving you access to a lot of things, basically, right? So now the things that we're gonna need for us to get started with simply programming, we're just gonna choose. We're just gonna let me scroll up. So the first thing we're gonna need is just choose .NET development. So this one over here, .NET development, as mentioned earlier, is part of that's where C# is included, basically. .NET development. The other things we'll add them with time, basically. But for now, we're just gonna click .NET development, and then over here in the top corner is gonna say install while downloading and download all, then install. So it depends on you. If you have a lot of data, you can let it install and download at the same time, or if you want, you can download everything and then install them once. It all depends on you. So after you've done that, right? I've already done it, so I won't go through it. I'm just gonna open Visual Studio itself, and then we're gonna see how to get started. So I'm gonna do the same thing Ntsikelelo did, create a Hello World program, and we're gonna take it from there. So this is how Visual Studio 2022 loads up. So as you open Visual Studio 22, you get all your latest projects that you have done. Over here, you get to make a copy of a project on GitHub. Over here, you get to open your solutions. These two, you get to open projects that you have done. This one, you get to open a folder with the project that you have done. And then this one over here is to create a new project, or you can choose to continue with that coding at all. So I'm going to click create new project, right? I have to say Visual Studio is a heavy demanding studio. So if your laptop or machine is not up to spec, it can literally slow your PC down because it requires a lot. So that's why we advise people to have a high-end or good laptop for you to run Visual Studio. Or if you don't have a good laptop to run Visual Studio, the best advice that we say is to download what you need and just use it as it is instead of overloading your PC. That's the advice that we give, right? So I'm just waiting for the template to load. So on Visual Studio Code, we had to like tell it what we're looking for. But in Visual Studio, it tells us what we are looking for, or it recommends certain things to us. That's what it's trying to load over here. Just trying to load it quickly for us to continue. Any questions so far, Carol and Ntsikelelo, while we wait for this to load?
No question.
My question is that I heard you guys speaking about different languages or different types of coding. So my question is that do they all create the same things, or are they all unique?
Ntsikelelo, you answer that.
Pardon, can you please repeat the question?
Okay, you guys spoke about different coding languages. So my question is, do they work the same way, or do they all have like unique features that they do?
Actually, just like any language that you learn, each has a unique feature and a unique structure. For example, when you are learning English, as I said, you go subject, object, verb. When you are learning Korean or Mandarin, it's subject, verb, object. Same with coding languages. Each one has their own specific unique features. HTML, from as far that I have done, as much coding I have done in high school, you can only create web applications. Whilst for C#, you can create so much more. Not just web, you can create a desktop application, you can create a mobile application, an Android, an iOS application. Each language has its own specific features that help the language to create its intended application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Just to add on what Nsegelelo said, so as she said, each programming language has its own unique features and capabilities. So C Sharp has these rules that you have to follow, and it can do this. It can allows you to do a certain thing. C++, JavaScript have their own certain rules, and it allows you to do certain things basically. But in all, it they are all used to make applications and they are all used to make programs basically. That's what I can say. I can make a console program in Java, in C++, or I can also make it in C Sharp. It depends on my preference and what I'm looking for. So that's the first thing I mentioned at the beginning, is to know what you're looking for. So yeah, know what you're trying to do and know which language you want to learn. That's the first step that we give advise people on. So as yeah, I'm on Visual Studio, the templates have just opened up. So as I'm selected over here, these are all the programming languages that I have installed on my PC. As you can see, there's C Sharp, C++, F Sharp, there's Python, there's a lot of programming languages, but I'm choosing C Sharp. And then it asks me, what am I trying to create? Am I trying to create an Android application? Am I trying to connect to Azure? Am I trying to make an Apple application, Linux application? Am I trying to make applications for TVs? Am I trying to make applications for Xbox? Or am I trying to make application for Windows? So I'm making a Windows application, right? And then ask me which platform, which type of Windows application are you trying to make, right? So this is where I get to choose which type of Windows application I'm trying to make. So there's console, as I've talked about, there's desktop, there's games, there's different types of applications that we can make. But for now, I'm going to choose console application. So from console application, you see how it narrows down my search to help me to get started. So I'm going to click console application, right? And I'm going to click next. So that's the application that we're working on. And I'm going to name it, give it a name, getting started, right? That's what I'm going to name it. And then we wait for it to load. So we're going to choose .NET 6. So what is .NET? .NET is an ecosystem of various Microsoft technologies that allow you to make programs. I'm going to touch up on that at the end of the session. But the latest version or the latest technology of .NET is .NET 7, but I have .NET 6 installed. So when you hear .NET, don't get it confused. .NET is just an ecosystem of Microsoft technologies, and the latest one that's out is .NET 7, but the one that I have is .NET 6. So I choose .NET 6, and then I say create. So it's creating. So Carol, one of your questions was, at the beginning when Nsegelelo was presenting, she mentioned CD. CD it stands for means change directory. So back in the day when people were using computers or making use of computers, they didn't have an interface, they didn't have graphics to show them or tell them what they're trying to do. They had to memorize lines of code. And CD is one of those commands that allowed them to use the computer back in the day. So imagine just typing lines and commands to tell the computer what to do. So you're physically telling computers instructions to what to do. But now with technology has advanced, now I can graphically see what I'm trying to do with the help of a graphical user interface. So there's two types of interfaces to remember over here: graphical, which I can see, and command line. Command line whereby you type commands in to tell it what to do. So there are two different ways for you to get started. You can get started with a graphical way, as I'm showing you now, or the command way, as Nsegelelo was talking about. The command way is easier because you see it doesn't take as much time as it's taking on my one, but if you do it the graphical way, it's easier and you see what you're trying to do. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So my one is taking awfully so long, but it should get started. It should load just now. and then it loads. So this is what you are seeing, Carol, yesterday. You are seeing a console application that are made to make a speech recognition app, basically. So that's what you are seeing yesterday. So now, out of everything that I did just on AI Tuesday, this is how it is in simplicity. So, as Nseglelo mentioned, every language has its rules. So the rules for C# is you have to say console.writeline hello world. So if you want to display something or output a message to a user, you just use console.writeline. That's the output that we use. So this link over here is just basically a link to help you get started to learn more about C#, because some people don't know where to get started. They don't know where to look, where to get more information. Excuse me. Don't know where to get more information to get started with C#. So Microsoft provided a way for them to get started, and that's what the link provides over here. So in the coming few weeks on Fridays, on .NET Fridays, we're going to be exploring more about the C# programming languages, the rules, and the things that you need to follow in order for you to get started with C#. But the whole basis of today's program was to show you how to get started with Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code and what it's all about. So now I want to run the application. Let me just follow Nsegelelo's tip. Console, right? Console.read key. You see those red squiggly lines, as Nsegelelo was saying, those are errors. So the IDE or the system is telling you that, hey, there's a mistake, please check it out. So that's what those red squiggly line means. So I'm just, and you can see in Visual Studio, it also recommends what you want to do. So it's looking at what you are writing and it recommends what you're trying to do. And with Visual Studio 2022 as well, it has AI installed in it. So it's predicting what you're trying to say. So over here, it's predicting what I'm trying to write. And I just say tab and accept the command. So it wrote it for me. So now I can run it through the command as Nsegelelo did. Where is it? There is it here. I can run it in the command as Nsegelelo did, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm showing you it's possible to do it that way. But I'm just going to click this green button, which will enable me to run it as well. So let's run it and see the result quickly. Save time. So as I was saying, right, we're waiting for the application to run. The application just ran. Hello world. So just as we come into the world, the first few things we say is hello, right, to greet. So now the application that I just made or the program that I just made is greeting me saying hello world. I told it to say hello world, basically. So that's in simplicity how to get started with Visual Studio. So I'm gonna put this aside and just go back to the browser really quickly. So as I said, the internet is there and has everything that you need to know, right? So I spoke about .NET. Let's go to the Microsoft website. So if you do not know something, you just have to search the internet, as Nsegelelo said. There's YouTube videos, there's articles, etc. But the best place to also get information is by the actual company itself. So that's where I'm going to Microsoft Docs, Microsoft documentation. Nsegelelo mentioned something about Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn is where you can learn a lot of products of Microsoft that Microsoft has to offer. So I'm quickly coming here and look at all the technologies Microsoft has, and you can learn more all about them just over here. But the one that I'm just trying to focus on is .NET, right? So now .NET has all these ecosystems in it. You can make, where is it? the .NET application. Okay, so .NET allows you to make web application, mobile application, desktop application, microservices application, cloud application, include AI inside of it, make games, and also use IoT. So these are the type of things that you can do with .NET. And as I said, the latest version of .NET is .NET 7. And then the languages that you can use to make to use .NET in the .NET ecosystem, it's C Sharp, F Sharp, or Visual Basics, right? So these are the 3 languages that you can use in .NET, in the .NET ecosystem. So this is like an ecosystem made of various products and services that you can use basically. And to let you to end off, there's also websites that you can use to learn more about C Sharp and other programming languages. One that I used to learn C Sharp in grade 11. I taught myself how C Sharp in grade 11 is Solo Learn. So now there's different types of languages, as you can see on my profile. Let me go to the home, right? Let me go to the home, and you see all the courses that I've done, that I've been learning. So you teach yourself. So you can learn at school, yes, but you can also teach yourself. So I've done C Sharp, Java, Swift, C++, Python, HTML. These are all the courses that I've done, and look at how many that they're offering that you can do. So we're gonna go through this more in the coming week, but I just wanted to show you an indication of how to get started. I'm gonna pass it over to Nsekelelo to give us her tip on how she started learning C Sharp, and then we're gonna pass it over to questions and answers.
Okay, so when I started learning C Sharp, I first went to the Microsoft Learn, and that was not easy. I'm not gonna lie. So I went around, I started digging on, YouTube, and I found Breakies. So Breakies is a YouTuber who breaks down C Sharp from how to get started, how to program your first code, and go step by step with you. You can also go back after you've understood YouTube, to your better understanding, because all of us have a different pace of learning. So you can go back to Microsoft, or as Nasi said, you can also use Solo Learn. I'm not the best with Solo Learn because I sometimes forget stuff. So it's either I write it down somewhere or I just download YouTube video and I start learning step by step like that. So yeah, there's Breakies. So you can go to the playlist over there, and I started off with how to program in C Sharp because it starts you off from the basics, and it makes you see that okay, it's not so bad if I just follow these steps. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So Carol, now it's up to you. Any question, any remarks, what's your take on today's session?
I really enjoyed the session. At least these days when people are just speaking about coding, I'll also join into the conversations, but I enjoyed the session.
I see. Any question on any confusion that you might have had throughout the session?
No, you guys answered all my questions.
Okay, so would you go ahead and end off?
It was an amazing session, I don't want to lie, and thank you so much. Is it Nsikilelo? Am I pronouncing it right?
Nsekelelo, you there?
Yes, sorry, the signal went out for a bit.
Yes, I'm saying, am I pronouncing it right? Is it Ntsikelelo?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Ntsikelelo and Nasis, for the amazing session. And I'm glad that now, actually, when people are speaking about coding is hard. Coding is, at least put into the conversation that no, you can actually do this or not do this. And guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe on our videos. And guys, thank you so much for the amazing session. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.